Okay, we should be recording now. Live. Okay. Just down here. And, okay, today. So last week we talked about let thy food be thy medicine. Um, Anybody have any new discoveries in that arena that they want to share with us?
Yes, I found bitter melon.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I haven't eaten it yet though. Do you have any suggestions on how to cook it?
Well, just it helps to and we usually stir fry it, but stir fry it with some garlic and onions helps, and you know you can cook some chicken with it or whatever, just to and and salt and usually put salt and pepper and or if I don't put salt, use coconut aminos to bring in the salt and some additional flavoring.
Okay, I'll try that.
And maybe a little balsamic vinegar the first time to make a little sour to replace the bitter. So anyway, it's good stuff.
Just be ready to be taken aback by the flavor, but keep telling yourself it's really good for your liver and all kinds of other stuff.
So how often would you recommend eating it? Like once a week, once a month, once a year?
When we were growing it in the garden, and it was coming on daily, we'd both eat it daily. I would saute it and eat it for breakfast.
The daily dosage is a quarter of a bitter melon. So if you cut it in half and then cut those two halves in half, you got a 4 day supply there for one person
All right. Sounds good.
for average size bitter melon, whatever that is. And I don't know what kind you got, but there's two kinds. There's the Indian kind that's real warty and knobby, and then the Chinese is more smooth and rounded. And the Chinese is a little more palatable. I think the the Indian varieties are really bitter. But,
We found it at the Asian market, so I don't know which variation it is.
well, if it's just smooth when you rub it, it's the Asian or Chinese variety.
It could be a lighter green, and the Indian form is a much darker green
Okay, I think it might be the Chinese one because it's a lighter green.
and kind of shiny, a little
Uh,
bit in the texture and everything.
I will have to look at that. I don't know.
You got the right one then, in my opinion.
That's good to know.
I grew the others one year and they were pretty hard to eat. But anyway. Okay. Normally just because of the time of the year, I would spend more time on food storage and gardening and food production and stuff. But with what happened in the markets today, I think I ought to spend a little time in the financial side today. So if you were under a rock, the markets were almost universally down today, unless you had something short. And that was due to a CPI report this morning that was over 3%, and they weren't expecting that. And so the market kind of decided that there wouldn't be a cut in interest rates until maybe June at the earliest now, because the economy is still overheated, even though we got a lot of layoffs going on. So what I wanted to kind of stress tonight, is it time to shift or buy the dip? I suspect a lot of people will buy the dip on this first one anyway. But just wanted to bring up and get you thinking about it, that after Y2K, when we had the tech bubble and the tech wreck in early 2001, it took 15 years to get back to even if you bought and held. So, some of us might not have 15 years to wait, so something to keep, when people tell you to buy and hold and, not do anything, not doing anything is a decision also. And just be aware of that you might want to come back into a little different, something besides tech stocks, at least. Might be time to shift your focus. So anyway, but gold actually, after being down most of the day, was actually up a little bit, a couple of dollars at the end of the day at 1993. Silver was down, just got below $22 for a while today. But I just wanted to bring up that still today, even with these changes, the gold silver ratio is 91 to 1. That's really high. I mean, that means that in compared to gold, silver is a screaming buy at this point, because constitutionally it's 20 to 1, or should be. So 1980, when things were crazy, just like today, it was 17 to 1. So I think that's a no-brainer, but just personally. Tilt and zeros were down about 2% today. So question is the bottom in? I mean, I don't think interest rates are going to go up anymore. They're just not going to come down. So as far as I'm concerned, all the bad news is kind of in on that. So it might be a safe place to, tilt and zeros might be a safe place to sit this out. Wheat was down a few cents today at 5.56. If some of you, that number may trigger you, that 5.56 number. If you got a military background. So speaking of that, I used the opportunity today to get into some of the military industrial complex, because like I said, it was all one market today. Everything was down. So I still wasn't able to get into XAR, which is an ETF that has all the defense stocks in it, the big ones. But I was able to sell some Raytheon put spreads, which is a long position. Anyway, if you're going to stay in the market and you have the opportunity to pick individual stocks or ETFs, you might consider shifting into the some of the defense stocks, because I think that's one thing we can count on, that there will be wars and rumors of wars, regardless of what the economy does.
Got it.
Say, Winston, on the XAR military, the reason you couldn't get into that is because there's special stipulations to get into that, or it's not open to the public, or?
No, it's readily open. It's not widely traded, and when I say I couldn't get into it, I put a offer to sell it at a minimum of 65 cents.
Okay.
And nobody ever took me up on it, because what I'm doing by selling a put spread is I'm offering insurance, and
hey,
people didn't think that it's going to go down apparently that much, and so they didn't feel that they should pay that much premium for the insurance. So So
Hey, Jeffrey, I'm Steven.
basically my order just didn't get filled.
Center. So tell me again, do you have more precisely the name of this ant spray product we're talking about?
Hey, Stephen, you got your microphone open?
You should be able to mute
Oh,
participants, Winston.
okay, I'm with you now.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe
So
not.
I'm familiar with the diatomaceous surface. Right. Okay. No, that can be a little bit of the irritant to you. I mean, no coughing, no sneezing, or like that.
Yes, I was able to mute him. I didn't know I could do that. Okay. So, did I answer your questions, Lyle?
Yeah, you did. I just don't know that much about the mechanics of all of these things, so
Yeah, if
it's pretty new to me, so.
if you're just doing a straight buy, I mean, it's real simple. I mean, you just offer to buy at a limit price, or you offer to buy at the market, and you'll get filled on it. But um, also any of these others, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamic, Raytheon. I was able to get a fill on Raytheon today, but and I have some of all the others. So anyway, but something to consider at this point. I think it's pretty safe bet that these companies are going to thrive one way or the other. So then the other thing we've been watching is natural gas, and it was down to 15.52 today, which is almost exactly $3 cheaper than it was last week at this time. So, and the futures price was $1.65 per thousand. And supposedly the cost of production is about $2.30. So, the old saying is that the solution to low prices is low prices, which in this case means that producing companies will start shutting in wells or cutting back on their production just because they'd rather keep it in the ground than sell it this cheap. So, so other companies that you could get into instead of the UNG ETF would be Southwestern, which is a producer, and Chesapeake, which is probably the best known natural gas producer. And LNG, I don't know whether you're familiar with that, but that's Shinnery Energy, but LNG, their symbol, which stands for liquefied natural gas, but they're the biggest exporter out of the Texas coast. And they were down considerably today, but in my opinion, they shouldn't be because, they don't produce natural gas, they buy it. So they actually should be more profitable down with natural gas at these levels. So anyway, I think that one's kind of a no-brainer too. And they pay a fair amount of dividend and could raise their dividend considerably because they're only paying out like 9% of their profit in dividends. So they got a lot of room to run there. So anyway, Bitcoin was probably the strongest sector today. It was over 50,000 for a while today. And so, and now you can buy Bitcoin with any of 11 new ETFs if you want to get in that market. I personally wouldn't chase it right now, but I figure there'll be at least a pullback. So Coin, which is Coinbase, was down $7 today. I have a short position in that, but I'm still underwater in it because it was up quite a bit a few days ago. And things that might consider if you want to go long or short on Bitcoin is BITS would be long and BITI would be short. You can just buy those ETFs and put in a position that way if you want to play that game. Bits I noticed, which is a long bet on Bitcoin and blockchain. And so it's got companies in it that, make money off the blockchain. And like the other day when Bitcoin was up, or all the ETFs were up like 4.4%. Bits was up 8%. So it's actually it has some leverage in it. And which today, when most of the ETFs were down a little bit, bits was down more. So just be aware of that leverage bites both ways. So what else? Still got a Texas standoff with the federal government. We got a little bit of a war on natural gas, which I think is what's pushing it down, because Biden has said he won't approve any more export terminals, and I think that's because most of them are on the Texas coast. And we've got a war on cash. I'd recommend you spend it while you got it, and in your daily life to make it stay around longer, as they would like for us to not to have it. There's a war on food against farmers in the Netherlands, Germany, France. Where else? I heard another country today. A lot of farmers are protesting because they're getting the short end of the stick. It's a war on gardens. I covered that last week with a video. We won't play one tonight, but if you want to see, look up Survival Lily on YouTube. She's got a new video on this very subject, and tries to dispute the facts of the globalist, because they keep saying that a home garden is less efficient than commercial agriculture. We're big polluters. Okay, still got the war in Ukraine and Middle East wars and rumors of wars. So I think that's about it. The other news that thought was rather interesting, which you may have heard of, came out about 5 days ago, but there's a sheriff in Ohio that went to the conference of sheriffs, like 3,300 of them in Washington, D.C., and the FBI gave him some rather stark news. And I'll play a short video on this. So sound and if you're interested in more, you can find the Butler County Sheriff address here. There's 25 minutes that he talks about, what he's going to implement in his county. But this is just a short interview from Fox News that we can play to get the gist of it.
With the crisis at the border worsening every single day, FBI Director Christopher Wray spoke with a group of sheriffs, reportedly saying that when it comes to a terror attack, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. As new border numbers show, 49 suspected terrorists were arrested at the southern border in fiscal year 2024, and 19 in just December alone. Our next guest was at that National Sheriff's Conference, Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones, and he joins us now. Sheriff, what kind of message was sent to other sheriffs and local chiefs when the commander-in-chief said, I'm not going to meet with you?
Listen, it was the Chiefs Association throughout the whole country. He wouldn't meet with them. They've been trying to meet with him, the national sheriffs, for 3 years. It sent the message that he doesn't care, This is in the heartland. I want to repeat that. This is in the heartland. Sheriffs representing your communities where people live every day. President refuses to meet with us, and we've been trying for 3 years. And with the crime, the uptick in the crime, the terrorists coming across. But listen, this isn't just, when you mentioned the 40 terrorists that they captured, it's the gotaways that are carrying these duffel bags. And what are they carrying? And when you listen to the director of the FBI, he told the exact same thing to Congress. You can Google it online. You can find it. He said this is the most red flags from the government of China that are attacking our infrastructure every single day. They attack our infrastructure at our sheriff's office 5 times a day, the Chinese do. The Iranians are attacking it 3 times. They're attacking, and we've been hacked by the Russians 2 years ago. Shut everything down. They're not our friends. They're not here to help us.
No.
They're here to hurt us. They're attacking, we've been told to watch our local elections. They're going to look at our local elections, and they want to cause chaos here in the heartland, not just the big cities. They're here. We're bombing in 2 countries, we were told, but everybody knows that. And there's people here that hate us and want to kill us.
Yes, including record numbers of Chinese men of military age who have come across our border. There's an 800% increase. We have no idea what they're doing here, who they're taking orders from. We have biolabs. We have secret Chinese police stations that we're finding here in the United States. I'm just curious, like, even if Joe Biden didn't care about the people, and it certainly sounds like that, he doesn't care about our safety, or else he'd close the border. He has to be concerned just on a political sense. I mean, Christopher Wray said it's not if, it's when a terrorist attack is coming. He's raising the red flags, I don't think loud enough. What can regular Americans do to protect themselves? It's scary.
Here's what we're doing. We've got classes, and we're going to start training our civilians, the people who live in our community.
Wow.
And we started training real quick and fast, and we're filled up already. So we're doing everything we can to train our people, get prepared for this. It's coming, and I'm not a doomsday Jones. I'm just delivering the message that the government is telling us.
Wow, it's a powerful message. It also shows that the federal government doesn't care, and it's going to be local law enforcement like yourself who's going to be on the front lines and helping us citizens out. So just really want to thank you for your courage and for your service and for delivering this message that is so gravely important. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, I thought we should be aware of that. There's supposed to be more coming out about that in the next day or so. And like I said, if you want to hear his full speech to his people in Ohio, it's up here on YouTube. But let's see. Let's go back to new share. Okay. Well, anyway, now is the time we talk about seasonal information. So pretty much what I had last week. Time to plant trees, prune trees and vines, start a garden. It's a good time. Time to start planting some seeds indoors. Yeah, we butchered a pig last week. Still got another one to go. Order seeds and trees. A new source I came up with, which whether you can see that, but the big seed book of 2024, and they say they didn't raise their prices. Well, they have it. You can go online and order, but it's seedsandsuch.com. And if you buy 20 packets or more, you get them for $3.25, and they have a pretty good selection. I didn't have any trouble finding 20 packets, but that's just me. But pretty good place to buy seeds at a fairly reasonable price, because most places are, $5 and $6 for a lot of seeds this year. So something to be aware of. Seeds and Such. So, and of course, keep harping on potassium iodine. Can forage for wild game. Uh, I'm gonna show something. Speaking of, not yet. So here's the place where we talk about progress. If anybody has anything that they've done that they would like to share with us, wood cutting, garden prep, preps you've bought, gold backs, brass, lead, pruning. Anybody have anything they want to share with us tonight?
I got some burning in before the burn restrictions kick in, so those kick in on the 15th.
I didn't realize it was that early. I was expecting March, but I need to get to brush pile up by the road there that's been there for a month or two or more. So we've done a lot of not a lot, maybe not compared to what we got, but quite a bit of printing. Got started on it anyway. Got a lot to go yet. And as far as harvesting wild game, if you're triggered, close your eyes for a minute and I'll talk about this, but if you're triggered by pistols and dead animals, don't watch this. But anyway, some people were asking about my new pistol. I talked about it, but this is a PMR 30, and it's a kind of fits in with the earlier topic we were talking about from the sheriff. But it holds 30 rounds in a double stack magazine of 22 Magnum, and so far, I have not. I haven't fired a full magazine of rounds yet, but so far I have taught it no bad habits, which means that I haven't missed anything that I've shot at. And I've killed a possum and 2 pigs, and now this squirrel that was getting into my feed supply in the barn. And anyway, just wanted people to be aware of that, something that's carryable, and it's a little large for conceal, but it's very light, which makes it nice because it's, mostly plastic and sheet metal in the magazine, but for carrying 30 rounds, it's definitely an asset, I think. But it will shoot accurate enough to shoot a squirrel in the head, and or kill a pig with a single shot. So anyway, something like I said, I haven't fired it a lot, but so far I'm impressed with it.
Did you read the squirrel?
Actually, I didn't. I fed it to the cats. They seem to be interested in it, and but if it had 2 of them, I would have.
I was trying to figure out what that was, and I kept thinking, is that a rat? It's like,
Well, it was in the rain the other day, so it's like a drowned rat.
yeah, pretty big though.
And it wasn't a real big squirrel. It was a young one, so it would have probably been good to eat. Speaking of that.
So just a question on the possum. I've come to kind of like them. But do you see, of course, I don't have a farm, but do you see them causing problems sometimes?
Yeah, they cause a lot of problems there, especially with turkeys nesting, sitting on eggs. They'll come in at night, and they use like a chicken. They'll usually kill a hen, but they don't seem to kill the turkeys, but they will come in and steal the eggs until they're full. They get one or two a night until they're all gone, basically, or you kill it first.
Got it.
So they're pretty bad on poultry, because poultry's pretty vulnerable when they're sitting on a nest.
Yeah. Well, I like them because they kill copperheads. So
so do black snakes, by the way.
yep.
So anyway, tonight I'm gonna kind of get back to basics, and I'm gonna play a video from 1980 from President Ezra Taft Benson, and I don't think we got anybody that would object to that tonight, but kind of like I said down here, truth is always true. It's just when you're watching this, think of we have more options and tools that were available to us 44 years ago when this was broadcast originally. So new share. This.
For over 40 years, in a spirit of love, members of the church have been counseled to be thrifty, self-reliant, avoid debt, pay tithes and generous fast offerings, be industrious, and have sufficient food, clothing, and fuel on hand to last at least 1 year. Today, there are compelling reasons to re-emphasize this counsel. We heard it done effectively in that great welfare meeting this morning. May I add just a word? Members of the church are feeling the economic pinch of higher taxes.
Are you guys not hearing this? We'll do a new share with, I supposedly have sound. Okay, text me or put in the chat if you're not hearing this. I'm gonna try again.
And inflation, coupled with conditions of continuing recession. Some have come to their bishops seeking assistance to make house payments, car loans, and utilities. Unfortunately, there has been fostered in the minds of some an expectation that when we experience hard times, when we have been unwise and extravagant with our resources and have lived beyond our means, we should look to either the church or government to bail us out. Forgotten by some of our members is an underlying principle of the church welfare plan that, quote, no true Latter-day Saint will, while physically able, voluntarily shift from himself the burden of his own support. One of the first principles revealed to Father Adam when he was driven out of the Garden of Eden was this: in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return to the ground. All we obtain in life of a material nature comes as a product of labor and the providence of God. Work alone produces life's necessities. In saying this, I'm aware of and sympathetic to the fight of many young families who are struggling to make ends meet. They're faced with the financial burden of providing for the three great necessities of life: food, clothing, and shelter. I am also sympathetic to the situation of widows and other sisters who rear families alone. More than even before, we need to learn and apply the principles of economic self-reliance. We do not know when the crisis involving sickness or unemployment may affect our circumstances. We do know that the Lord has decreed global calamities for the future and has warned and forewarned us to be prepared. For this reason, the brethren have repeatedly stressed a back to basics program for temporal and spiritual welfare. Today, I emphasize a most basic principle: home production and storage. Have you ever paused to realize what would happen to your community or nation if transportation was paralyzed? Or if we had war or depression? How would you and your neighbors obtain food? How long would the corner grocery store or supermarket sustain the needs of the community? Shortly after World War II, I was called with the First Presidency to go to Europe to reestablish our missions and set up a program for the distribution of food and clothing to the saints. Vivid in my memory are the people who got on trains each morning with all kinds of bric-a-brac in their arms to go out to the countryside to trade their possessions for food. At eventime, the train station was filled with people with arms full of vegetables and fruits and a menagerie of squealing pigs and chickens. You never heard such a commotion. These people were, of course, willing to barter practically anything for that commodity which sustains life: food. An almost forgotten means of economic self-reliance is the home production of food. We are too accustomed to going to stores and purchasing what we need. By producing some of our food, we reduce, to a great extent, the impact of inflation on our money. More importantly, we learn how to produce our own food and involve all family members in a beneficial project. No more timely counsel, I feel, has been given by President Kimball than his repeated emphasis to grow our own gardens. Here is one sample of his emphasis over the past 7 years. Quote, "We encourage you to grow all the food that you possibly can on your own property. Berry bushes, grapevines, fruit trees. Plant them if your climate is right. Grow vegetables and eat them from your own yard." Many of you have listened to and done as President Kimball has counseled, and you have been blessed for it. Others have rationalized that they had no time or space. May I suggest that you do what others have done? Get together with several others and seek permission to use a vacant lot for a garden, or rent a plot of ground and grow your gardens. Some elders' quorums have done this as a quorum, and all who have participated have reaped the benefits of a vegetable and fruit harvest and the blessings of cooperation and family involvement. Many families have dug up lawn space for gardens. We encourage you to be more self-reliant, because the Lord has declared, "Notwithstanding the tribulation which shall descend upon you, that the church may stand independent above all other creatures beneath the celestial kingdom." The Lord wants us to be independent and self-reliant because these will be days of tribulation, he has warned and forewarned us of the eventuality. Food production is just one part of the repeated emphasis that you store a provision of food which will last for at least a year, wherever it is legally permissible to do so. The church has not told you what foods should be stored. This decision is left up to individual members. However, some excellent suggestions are available in the booklet produced by the church entitled Essentials of Home Production and Storage. There are also booklets available on gardening at BYU. From the standpoint of food production, storage, handling, and the Lord's counsel, wheat should have high priority. There is more salvation and security in wheat, said Orson Hyde years ago, than in all the political schemes of the world. Water, of course, is essential. Other basics could include honey or sugar, legumes, milk products, or substitutes. The revelations to produce and store food may be as essential to our temporal welfare today as boarding the ark was to the people in the days of Noah. President Harold B. Lee has counseled, perhaps if we think not in terms of a year's supply of what we ordinarily would use, and think more in terms of what it would take to keep us alive in case we didn't have anything else to eat. That last would be very easy to put in storage for a year, just enough to keep us alive if we didn't have anything else to eat. We wouldn't get fat on it, but we would live. And if you think in terms of that kind of annual storage, rather than a whole year's supply of everything that you are accustomed to eat, in most cases, which is utterly impossible for the average family, I think we will come closer to what President J. Reuben Clark envisioned way back in 1937. There are blessings in being close to the soil, in raising your own food, even if it is only a garden in your yard and a fruit tree or two. Those families will be fortunate who, in the last days, have an adequate supply of food because of their foresight and ability to produce their own. The counsel from church authorities has been consistent over the years and is well summarized in these words, quote, "First and above and beyond everything else, let us live righteously. Let us avoid debt as we would avoid a plague. Where we are now in debt, let us get out of debt. If not today, then tomorrow. Let us straightly and strictly live within our income and save a little. Let every head of every household see to it that he has on hand enough food and clothing, and where possible fuel also, for at least a year ahead. You of small means, put your money in foodstuffs and wearing apparel, not in stocks and bonds. You who have large means will think you know how to care for yourselves, but I may venture to suggest that you do not speculate. Let every head of every household aim to own his own home, free from mortgage. Let every man who has a garden spot garden it. Every man who owns a farm it. You do not need to go into debt, may I add, to obtain a year's supply. Plan to build up your food supply just as you would a savings account. Save a little for storage each paycheck. Can or bottled fruit and vegetables from your gardens and orchards. Learn how to preserve food through drying and possible freezing. Make your storage a part of your budget. Store seeds and have sufficient tools on hand to do the job. If you are saving and planning for a second car or a TV set or some item which merely adds to your comfort or pleasure, you may need to change your priorities. We urge you to do this prayerfully and do it now. I speak with a feeling of great urgency. I have seen what the days of tribulation can be and can do to people. I have seen hunger stalk the streets of Europe. I have seen women and children ravage our army garbage dumps for scraps of food. Those scenes and nameless faces cannot be erased from my memory. I shall never forget the saints of Hamburg who appeared on the verge of collapse from starvation, or their small children whom I invited to come to the stand as we emptied our pockets of edibles. Most had never seen these items before because of the wartime conditions. Nor can I forget the expectant and nursing mothers whose eyes watered with tears when we gave them each an orange. We saw the terrible physical and social side effects of hunger. I cannot forget the French saints who, unable to obtain bread, used potato peelings for the emblem of the sacrament. Nor will I ever forget the faith of the Dutch saints who accepted our suggestion to grow potatoes to alleviate their own starving conditions, and then sent a portion of their first harvest to the German people who had been their bitter enemies. The following year, they sent them the entire harvest. The annals of church history have seldom recorded a more Christ-like act of love and compassion. Too often, we bask in our comfortable complacency and rationalize that the ravages of war, economic disaster, famine, and earthquake cannot happen here. Those who believe this are either not acquainted with the revelations of the Lord, or they do not believe them. Those who smugly think these calamities will not happen, that they somehow will be set aside because of the righteousness of the saints, are deceived and will rue the day they harbored such a delusion. The Lord has warned and forewarned us against a day of great tribulation and given us counsel through his servants on how we can be prepared for these difficult times. Have we heeded his counsel? I bear you my testimony that President Heber J. Grant was inspired of the Lord in establishing the church welfare program. The first presidency was inspired when they made the first public announcement in 1936 and declared the prime purpose of church welfare was to help the people to help themselves. I bear witness to that inspired counsel from 1936 to the present day, that the saints lay up a year's supply of food. When President Spencer W. Kimball persistently admonishes the members to plant gardens and fruit trees and produce our own food, he is likewise inspired of the Lord. Be faithful, my brothers and sisters, to his counsel, and you will be blessed. Yes, the most blessed people in all the earth. You are good people, I know that. But all of us need to be better than we are. Let us be in a position so we are able to not only feed ourselves, through the home production and storage, but others as well. May God bless us to be prepared for the days which lie ahead, which may be the most severe yet. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Okay. So, I thought that was very timely. That could have been out of the headlines of today. And a kind of interesting thing that I found about it was that it was presented in conference 44 years ago. And before that, in 1936, 44 years ago, before that, President Heber J. Grant started the church welfare program. And 44 years after 1980 is 2024. You think that's a coincidence?
Interesting.
I thought so. The other thing I was going to bring up is that, I had the quote on here, truth is always the truth. But we have more options and tools available to us than we had 44 years ago. In the financial markets in particular, 44 years ago, Americans couldn't even legally own gold. There were no ETFs. There was no cryptocurrencies. There were, a whole bunch of stuff. Whether they're better or we should depend on them or not is yet to be determined. But just wanted to bring up that a lot of things that we have at our fingertips today, didn't exist when this talk was given. So any other comments about the talk? Have you heard it before, or
Did you hear Chris's question, Winston?
did you have any other comments about the talk, and have you heard it before?
No, Chris had another question aside of the talk,
Oh, okay.
from the talk.
Okay.
We can't hear her though.
Oh, Chris asked, what kind of fuels can we be storing? And how do we store it? I know we've gone over some of this before.
Yeah, we in that regard, we have a lot of options that weren't available 44 years ago either. There's now butane stoves that you can actually use inside the house. So that's one that wasn't available back then. So butane is a nice convenient fuel because you can get a little hot plate type burner that you can just set on top of your stove and use it, like you would a gas burner. So there's one. Some people store charcoal, which of course can only be used outside. Propane should normally be used outside. And then, there's all these new rocket stoves that will just burn, twigs and sticks and leaves. And, basically, if you got any woods around you at all, you could, pick up enough in a couple of minutes to cook a meal with a rocket stove. So that's some ideas. If you have propane like we do, we've got a 300-gallon propane tank, so we'll always be able to use our cooktop just by lighting it with a match, even if we didn't have electricity. It's a little more complicated to get the oven to work, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's the ones I can think of off the top of my head, and we probably should go over that again sometime, but in more detail. But you think about it, when I originally heard this talk and they said a year's supply of fuel, I was thinking like heating fuel, but I think he's really just talking about fuel to cook your food, not necessarily fuel to run your car or fuel to heat your home.
Right, that's kind of what I was thinking too, because there are good chances that you won't have any electricity or things like that in your home during a downtime like that, and you'll need their fuel just to do the basic things.
Yeah.
Well, in the warmer months, a solar oven and solar cooking is an option.
Yeah.
Probably not in the winter though.
Mhm.
If you can get a clear day, it'll still work, but
We do have a solar oven, and I can attest to the fact that I would rather not cook all of my food on one, because even on a sunny day, it's difficult to have enough heat generated to cook in a very timely manner. And maybe I'm just a little too accustomed to instantaneous heat for cooking, but that can take a long time.
You're right. I think it, like, don't they say it takes like 2 hours to bake some cookies or something? Like
Yeah.
you can only get up to like 280 degrees or something, so you just have to cook a lot longer.
we've gotten well over 300 on ours, but you don't get to that magic 350 very often. But
Yeah.
I think there are probably ways where you could focus the sun's capacity and with lenses or whatever, some kind of focusing equipment to heat up things.
Well, then
I-
you also have to rotate it to follow the sun. I
Yeah,
mean, you can get temperatures up, but it needs to be a direct sun. And we have good area to be able to get direct sun throughout the span of it. But I would hate to cook beans in that thing from
You
dry.
put a solar oven in a solar oven.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and about every 30 or 45 minutes, you need to go out there and rotate it, back into direct contact with the sun. And
At least it's viable.
yeah,
Not convenient.
yeah, and I mean it's good in that it wouldn't it wouldn't give off smoke signals and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but good, you won't be able to depend on it every day, especially in Virginia. And I've noticed the same thing with solar. Mike, you probably noticed the other day I was moving the solar fence charger around to do the same thing to track the sun. In the summertime, it's not an issue. I can just put it at noonday sun position, and it'll keep the battery charged up for it. But in the winter, I've noticed that I feed twice a day, so when I go out and feed in the morning, I turn it towards the west some, and then at night when I come out to feed, I turn it towards the east, towards the southeast, so I get better. I get early morning sun there instead of having to wait till noon. And but it's then you get a lot of cloudy days, and so it's marginal in the winter time.
Yeah, we have solar panels, and this is our second winter with them, and they definitely the output definitely drops, both due to the angle of the sun and the length of the day. So
Mhm. Do you have a tracking mechanism for them or
nope, they're just on my roof.
fixed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to compare the stats, over time. The shorter, I think the shorter day does just as much as the weaker sun.
Yeah. Um, anyway, I just wanted to play that because one of the things I've come across recently was I think it was in Revelations, but it said that those who took the mark of the beast um, would would be damned and eternal damnation. And if you've got to take the mark of the beast to work or to buy food or to feed your family, and you have no other food storage or food production, what it's going to be pretty hard to resist the mark of the beast. And I go back to COVID, which I think was a dry run, and think of all the persecution that people received who wouldn't take the vaccine, and including losing their employment and their livelihood and inability to travel. So just think about the comparison there.
Yeah, it'd be definitely be best to be in a position to not have to even have to make that choice.
Yeah.
If possible.
And,
To that end, I appreciate the thought about using cash more to make sure that it sticks around. I've not considered that. I'm generally anti-cash because I'm more about convenience, but I think I may need to adjust. I can't hear you, Chris.
and you might even consider adding go backs to your repertoire.
Yeah. Looks like Chris is talking, but their voice isolation microphone works too well, I think. Yeah, I can't hear you. Barely hear you there. I think you have to get real close to the screen or something.
I was just saying that we tend to, because of the convenience, we tend to use the credit card more often than we do cash. And I was counting up the coins. We used to get a lot of coins and we could go on vacation with those coins. We can't anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, Liz has gotten to where that if we go out to eat, that she at least pays the tip in cash, and I think the waitresses or waiters really appreciate that. And
I've told them, your tip's going to be, if somehow we don't see each other, whatever, I've always tried to make a point, the tip's on the table, because they will look at you funny at the checkout or when you're going through a cashier. And sometimes I'll say the tip's on the table, and I've been thanked many a time, especially if it's the waitress who happens to be at the cash register, that they're very grateful to go ahead and get a cash tip, because it doesn't get held up for them waiting for a 2-week time period for their paycheck to come. And then there's also taxing things that will also affect them.
Yeah.
They get so much money before they have to claim their tips.
And back to gold backs. I've started giving a gold back to everybody that buys something from me on the farm, just so they'll get aware of what they are. And and I tell them, I say, one day in the future, I might want this back. I may not take that green stuff anymore. Who knows? But I think we need to think about, if the worst, if the mark of the beast becomes a thing in our lifetimes, there will be a black market, spring up immediately, and so you need to think of what you would do that transaction in,
Yeah, there definitely will.
whether it would be a pure barter, or which is very inconvenient, or some alternate form of currency, which could be silver, gold, goldbacks, I don't know, razor blades, whatever, cigarettes. Many things have been used in war zones for currency. But, anyway, so anybody have anything else before we close? No. Thanks for coming out, and we'll try to do something a little more on the brighter side next week. But I thought we all needed to hear this tonight. So it's just going to be interesting to see if this same topic comes up in conference 44 years later. No. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
No.
Bye.
Steve.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.